How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball. Welcome back to another transfer update around Europe. And we brought you the news yesterday about Josko Gvardiol. It looked like for everyone to see it was all done and Gvardiol was going to do his second part of his medical. But now there seems to be some sort of hiccups in the deal, as Leipzig's director, Max Erbel, was talking about it. And he says, fact is, Man City would like to have him. Currently, we are very far apart. There is no agreement. It's not even close. Szoboszlai's transfer secured us financially, and we do not need the money, and we prefer Josko to stay. Romano said yesterday that Gvardiol deal tension with Man City and Leipzig during the final stages of negotiations. Josko, he didn't complete the medical yet. Verbal agreement reached yesterday, medical booked today, but then issues on the club side after the leak and no green light to do the medical, but the deal is still on. So, I mean, you do imagine this deal will get done, but, I mean, a bit of a mess at the moment.
Definitely, and I'm sure the fact that the news came out yesterday, with that, I'm guessing Leipzig weren't very happy about that. I mean, it's very funny that Romano's reporting, due to this leak, they're not happy. It's like, he's the one who reported it. He leaked it. He's like,
where's he getting the leak from? That's the main thing.
So he's kind of like saying, because I leaked it, there's a problem now, basically. And look, a lot of these times when the agreement gets leaked early, the selling club, it kind of hardens their stance a lot. And I'm sure Leipzig are going to use this opportunity to maybe get a bit of money, or maybe not more money, but maybe better the structure, more money up front kind of thing. So I'm assuming this deal is still going to go through. It kind of reminds me of like when Ulis of Lyon, when he comes out a day before a deal goes through and he says this deal's not happening, there's no agreement, and then the next day you find out the deal's been agreed and it's all going to go through. So I'm assuming it is going to happen, but probably Leipzig are just pissed off with how Man City have gone about things, and they're probably just making that clear.
Yeah, I mean, look, if he's going to go anyway and you know how much you're going to get and all this stuff, you may as well just get the deal done and start moving on. I mean, we heard yesterday that Luke Haber is going to go to Leipzig to replace Gvardiol, so surely it's in everyone's interest to get it done like as soon as possible.
I mean, if they can get a better deal out of it, any excuse, I guess.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise. Look, and it doesn't surprise me that they're going to make a bigger deal out of the situation than needs to be, because it's only in their interest, really. Because even if Gvardiol stays, that's massively in their interest. But obviously, he's not going to stay. Man City will get him. It'll go through. I think it's just a bit of posturing on both sides.
All right, let's move on. And we've got two stories regarding Inter Miami on the back of Busquets and Messi joining. It looks as though Jordi Alba will be joining as well. As an official announcement, Inter Miami have signed former Barcelona left-back Jordi Alba on a free transfer. They really are getting the band back together at Inter Miami.
Exactly, and why not? I think it's a fun thing to do. It probably draws more attention to the MLS as well. Having four former Barca, well, we'll talk about the next one, but obviously Jordi Alba, I actually think he was doing all right at Barca. Like, I don't think he's completely finished just yet, but obviously at 35, I think, or 34 at left-back, you need to have legs in this day and age, so no surprise that he decided to make that move. But it's interesting how that the MLS seemed to be just like on a mission to get that old Barca team back together.
Yeah, David Beckham's really on a one-man mission to put the band back together. And you know what? For commercially, it's a great thing. And Beckham, he's all about the commercial deals and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to be fun watching them. It's definitely going to have more eyeballs on the Inter Miami, the team who are sitting at bottom or second from bottom in the MLS. So they're definitely going to get a lot more eyes on them. And the next one is Andres Iniesta at 39 years of age. Dobel Amarella is saying that Inter Miami have agreed a deal to sign Andres Iniesta on a 2-year deal at Inter Miami. So another one joining. Unbelievable.
It was funny because we were chatting about this yesterday. I was like, Iniesta's a free agent. Might as well go for him and just really go for it. And then literally a few hours later, the news comes out that Iniesta actually is about to go to Inter Miami. So, I, for one, if I see an Inter Miami game on and knowing that all those four players are playing, I would be interested to see how they get on, to be honest. So it definitely is going to draw more attention. Iniesta, obviously, look, he's at the end of his career. When he was he was in Japan, wasn't he? And he, by all accounts, I don't think he did too great there. But him linking up with Messi and Busquets, I mean, that's something to look forward to.
Most definitely. And what are the chances now of David Beckham reintroducing the Barcelona colours as like their away shirt, or maybe even rebranding it as their home shirt?
Yeah, I would do it if I was him. If I was Beckham, I'd come out of retirement.
Why not?
Well,
Why
exactly.
not?
That'll be even more interesting.
Next up, we're going to talk about Marcel Sabitzer. Bild are reporting that Borussia Dortmund would want to sign Bayern Munich's Marcel Sabitzer. Toby Artschaffel, a German reporter, says that Sabitzer's preference is to move to the Premier League over Borussia Dortmund, but Dortmund have contacted him and are trying to convince him to move, but he is not very convinced at this moment in time. I mean, I think Sabitzer is a top quality player, and with the price that is banded about to getting him, I think they're talking about 15 to 20 million. I don't understand why there aren't teams just lining up for him at the moment.
Yeah, he hasn't had the best time at Bayern. We know that. Obviously, he was brilliant at Leipzig before they bought him, which obviously convinced them to buy him. He had a decent loan spell, I would say, at Man United. Not brilliant, but also he did have some good performances when he was fully fit and was able to.
I thought it was pretty
good.
good.
I thought it was all right. I don't think it was anything special, but I thought it was good when he was fully fit. I think it's a very Dortmund signing. If he goes to Dortmund, I think he would have a great time there, and I think he would slot right in that centre midfield. He'd be a pretty decent replacement for someone like Bellingham as well, and I think he can maybe try to recapture that form he had at Leipzig if he joined Borussia Dortmund. But obviously he's had a taste of the Premier League now, so maybe clearly that's where he wants to return. I don't see Man United re-signing him. They've moved on to other targets, but maybe someone, some of the chasing pack looking to break into the European places, like people like Brighton and Villa be making signings as well. I don't think a team like Spurs seem interested in him, but I think
they should, though.
I think someone like Brighton, that'd be a good signing for Brighton.
That'd be an unbelievable signing for Brighton. I think it's more likely for someone like Aston Villa than Brighton, to be fair, with the calibre of player and the stature of player that they are bringing in. But I think anyone who gets Sabitzer, I think, is getting a really good player, in my opinion. For one reason or another, it hasn't happened at Bayern Munich, but I thought he was showing his class at Manchester United at times last season, and we all know how good he was at RB Leipzig as well. So I think whoever gets him is getting a fine player, to be honest. But let's move on and let's talk about Aston Villa now. Let's talk about the done deal. They have finally got their man, is Moussa Diaby. Romano says that Bayer Leverkusen winger Moussa Diaby has rejected Al Nassr to agree to join Aston Villa in a £50 million deal. Aston Villa are preparing contracts and documents for Diaby to be signed on Friday after the agreement was made on Thursday. Villa want to get it signed and sealed as soon as possible. It'll be €50 plus €10 million in add-ons, and this is a great signing for Aston Villa following a really strong summer so far.
Yeah, Leon Bailey must be trembling in his boots because he lost his place to Diaby in the Leverkusen team. Now he's set to lose it in the Villa team. But I think it's a really good buy. I think he's been absolutely brilliant over the last couple of seasons for Leverkusen. Really developed his game to being more of a forward than a winger, someone who runs in behind, attacks the space, and he's really improved his finishing ability. And I think that's perfect for how Unai Emery wants to play and how his Aston Villa team sets up. So I think it's really a perfect signing for them. By all accounts, the team they're not finished there. It looks like they're going to go for Jeremy Doku as well in this window, and they're not resting on their laurels, which is, as a Villa fan, must be so exciting because I think they've done some tremendous business. They've got their European football, but they haven't rested on their laurels and think, okay, let's go ahead and go again what we have. They've seriously looked to improve in key areas. Tielemans, Pau Torres, and now Moussa Diaby, and they look like they're not stopping there in the transfer market. So what a brilliant window so far it's been for Aston Villa.
Absolutely. Rumours of them getting Jeremy Doku as well. Imagine having Diaby on one side, Doku on the other side, Pau Torres at the back, Tielemans in midfield. I mean, they're going to make a massive fist of this Conference League this year, and I'm going to back them to win it.
Yeah, and it looks like they want to, not just settle for 7th place. They want to really try and break into that top 6 as well.
Let's talk about Marco Silva now. This is an interesting one. Sky Sports are reporting that Al Ahly are offering Fulham boss Marco Silva a 2-year deal worth £40 million to become their new manager, and he has a £6 million release clause at Fulham. And this is on the back of Fulham repeatedly rejecting offers from them to sign Mitrovic. They're like, if you're not going to let us have your striker, we're going to take your manager.
They must be sick of the sight of them at Fulham. They're trying to poach all their top, the most important people at the club. Literally, Mitrovic is their most important player, pretty much. Marco Silva's been instrumental in getting Fulham back to the Premier League and back to, they finished in the top 10 last season, and they had a brilliant first season back in the Premier League. So everything was going well, and then now all of a sudden, with all these Saudi offers for all their most important people, it's kind of derailing them, and it must be so frustrating as a Fulham fan right now, because if you kind of feel powerless with all this money swirling around. It's like, what can we do? We're not going to offer Marco Silva that much, and we're not going to match whatever the Saudi club are offering Mitrovic in terms of wages and stuff. It's like I'm not sure if Marco Silva wants to go there, but in terms of Mitrovic, it's like they're kind of powerless to the funds at the moment, and it must be so demoralising.
Yeah, 100%. And after such a great season for Fulham last year, first season back in the Premier League, top half finish, Mitrovic was on fire, Marco Silva was getting all the plaudits, and it could all be just falling apart in the space of a few months with all this Saudi money. It's pretty crazy, to be honest. But let's talk about another done deal officially announced, which is Matt Doherty has returned to Wolves on a 3-year deal following the expiry of his contract at Atletico Madrid. So finally, Matt Doherty has made his way back to Wolves after, not such a great time with Tottenham, a really bad time at Atletico Madrid, and now he's back home.
Yeah, and I think there was rumours when he was at Spurs constantly of him returning to Wolves. I think that's when he was at his best. That's when he felt at home, I think. Will he fit into Lopetegui's system as well as he did under Nuno? Obviously, they've got people like Semedo there at the moment. I don't know if Doherty... he's kind of been off form now for a bit. Although, there were at times at Spurs where he was on form and looking good, but it was few and far between. He had injuries as well. Literally, I think had 12 minutes for Atletico Madrid. So I just think he wants to go somewhere where he knows he felt at home. He knows that he felt like he was wanted there. So I think it's a good move for him. Do I back him to return to that form that convinced Tottenham to sign him? I don't know if he ever will, to be honest.
He's been priced at 4.5 million on FPL. You taking it?
No. I'm holding my horses at the moment. I'm going to see how he progresses. I'm not taking it immediately.
Yeah, I think this is only a signing Wolves make because of their FFP and financial situation that they've got going around. Lopetegui was very frustrated at the end of the season when I think the hierarchy told him that he wouldn't be getting his targets and stuff. So I think this is just a result of that, to be honest, which is a shame for Wolves.
If he does get back to that form he showed at Wolves back when when Spurs signed him, obviously it's a great signing, but I feel like he was really suited to the system there, and whether he'll do it the same under Lopetegui, I don't think so.
Yeah. Another done deal is Noah Okafor going over to AC Milan from Salzburg. Romano reports the fee is around 13-14 million euros. Long-term contract. Pioli was instrumental in this, and he asked of him in 2022. Excellent feeling between Milan and Salzburg games in the UCL. Medical test booked on Saturday as Okafor is scheduled to travel, and that's the here we go from Fabrizio Romano. This is a player who's been really on form for the past couple of years for Salzburg. Scored a number of goals in the Champions League as well, and in the Austrian league he's also been banging them in. So it's another one off the Salzburg conveyor belt.
Yeah, they seem to really kind of reigniting their forward line this year. I know they got Rafael Leao, but they had Zlatan and Giroud aging, so they needed to refresh that forward line. Okafor, 23 years of age, I think he brings energy and pace to that forward line, especially in the number 9 position, which they haven't had for a bit. So I think in terms of his league goals last season wasn't too impressive, but I do think he's still a very young striker, and I think statistically, data-wise, I think he's kind of striker they need. So I think it could be a good signing for them.
And another one that could potentially be going to AC Milan is Samuel Chukwueze of Villarreal. Matti Moretto saying that AC Milan are accelerating their pursuit of Samuel Chukwueze. Negotiation with Villarreal ongoing, and the feeling is a deal that can be struck for 25 to 28 million euros. The player has already said yes to the move. And Romano says that after closing on the Noah Okafor deal, AC Milan are working to complete another agreement for Samuel Chukwueze. Negotiations advancing with Villarreal as the player has agreed personal time. He's keen on the move. So another potentially good signing for AC Milan.
Yeah, they've got obviously Pulisic, they've got Leao, they've got Salamakers, and now they're adding Chukwueze to that winger role as well. So they've got depth. Looks like they're adding to that squad pretty well. They're adding trickery, they're adding dribbling ability. He's a winger who can play on both sides as well. I think it's pretty good. I think they obviously wanted Dan Juma, so they failed with one Villarreal wing, and they're going for another one instead. Yeah.
And to be fair, they're going for the one that gets more minutes, and
he's probably the better one,
ahead of the pecking order. So Let's talk about Lautaro Martinez. CO Merlo are claiming that a club in Saudi Arabia have offered Lautaro Martinez 240 million euros over a 4-year contract. He hasn't given the green light on the move yet, so there are no contacts with Inter as we stand. I mean, I would hate to see someone like Lautaro Martinez go over to Saudi when, he's been instrumental for Inter Milan for so many years now. I think he was potentially going to get the captain's armband this year. And again, he had a sensational campaign in the Champions League for them all the way to the final. So it would be a shame to see someone at literally the top of their game now, go over to Saudi.
Yeah, it would be the biggest transfer yet if they were able to entice Lautaro Martinez over to Saudi Arabia. He could. I still believe, like Lautaro, he's been so good for Inter, but I think he's got another big move. He's still quite young, 25. I think he's got a big move in him to a top European club. As much as Inter are a good one, like a Barcelona, Madrid, or a team in the Premier League as well, could be very interested they could be very interested soon. So I don't know. If I was him, I think that. I would avoid the big wages, try and cement his football legacy and just kind of make that big move when the time comes. But 240 million over 4 years is absolutely bonkers. It's bonkers money. So, you never know. He could get enticed by it.
If I'm Lautaro Martinez, I'm thinking to myself, I want to go to one of the super clubs in Europe. And then, after playing at one of these super clubs in Europe, winning a Champions League or a couple of league titles and stuff like that, then there's still time for me to go to Saudi at the age of 29, 30, 31, He's still at such a young age. He's got so much more to give European football, potentially even the Premier League. I mean, it would just be a bit of a waste if he goes out to Saudi now.
It'd be a massive shame. This guy he's just on the cusp. He's on the precipice of being one of the best strikers in Europe. He can't leave now, surely.
Yeah. Let's move on to the last topic of the day, and that is revolving Sadio Mane, as Fabrizio Romano says that Mane has accepted to negotiate terms over his move to the Saudi League. Al Nassr are working to get it done. Mane wanted to stay at Bayern, but Bayern are pushing to find a solution and to part ways. Sadio is now seriously considering the Saudi League. He will negotiate terms with Al Nassr very soon. So another top player going out to the Saudi League. It is a bit different, this one, because he is kind of nearing the end of his career, although I still think he has something to give at a top level, Sadio Mane. But if Bayern don't want to keep him and there's not many other offers for him, then why not?
Yeah, I don't understand why there wouldn't be like a lot of interest in Mane. Even though he didn't have the best season for Bayern Munich, I still think he's a top player. And I think Bayern is it's not a weird club, but they've got Gnabry, they've got Coman, they've got Sane, they've got a lot of wingers in those positions. So it's going to obviously a lot of competition. They're all younger than him as well. So at 31, it was always going to be quite difficult to kind of get in that team. And I think Tuchel wants to play in a different way in terms of I don't think he wants to use Mane in the number 9. So that makes sense. I guess when it comes to other offers, like no one's going to match what Saudi are going to offer him, especially after a poor season for Bayern Munich. So the Saudi offer's probably the best on the table at the moment.
Yeah, what kind of level do you reckon he's at for, like, let's say if he was to get a European move?
No, for sure. One top club, in my opinion.
Like, do you think, like, let's say he moves to the Premier League, like, I don't think he's going to Man City.
I think he could play for Man City.
He could, but like with Man City's options, he's not going to go there.
No, he's not going to go there, no.
He's not going to go Arsenal, probably.
No.
Manchester United, potentially?
Potentially, but it looks like they're going for Højlund, for a young striker. They've got Rashford there. They've got Anthony. They spend a lot of money. They've got Sancho. I mean, they could sign him, but I don't think they're going to go for him.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, realistically, from what the clubs, top European clubs have right now, where do you think is most likely for him if he wasn't going to go to Saudi? Because there's not many clubs that have openings maybe on the wings.
It looks like AC Milan have got their wings covered. Could he go to Inter? They pay more wing backs, so kind of not suited to him as well. If you go over to Spain, Madrid are very well covered with Rodrigo and Vinicius. You got Barcelona, but they're making some moves in other areas. So I guess if he probably feels like if I'm going to move from Bayern, I need to go move to Madrid, Barca, one of these clubs. If they're not interested, he might as well take the money.
Exactly. All right, well, there you have it. That is our transfer roundup for today. Let me know in the comments section below your thoughts regarding all these transfer stories, and we'll see you again next time.